Good evening and welcome. Tonight we'll be going over the history and geography of Palestine. Now I know this is going to be a very controversial episode of my series. Rightly so, I think. But I just want to say that I'm not going to put any personal opinions in this video. If they do come out, I'm going to state that they are personal opinions, but as a disclaimer, I am by no means an expert on the situation. I have no investment in this conflict. I am not Jewish, Muslim, or Christian. So I am on neither side of this whole situation. And pretty much I just want to state that I'm coming from a viewpoint of not just relaxation and ASMR and putting you to sleep, but also from peace. You know, I believe in peace above all things, so that is my viewpoint. Okay, that's what I think. Like I said, I'm going to keep any personal opinions to a minimum. This is the history and geography of Palestine, or the state of Palestine, the Palestinian territories, however you'd like to refer to it. So let's go over what that area looks like. Let me grab my pencil. So first of all, we have the Gaza Strip, which you can see right here. And there's the city of Gaza, among all the other little settlements within that area. It has a border here with Egypt, and it's along the Mediterranean. So I would say there's a border with Israel, but I guess this is not a border. It's a treaty demarcation line, I suppose. So it's not technically considered a border. Same with over here in the West Bank. You can see it going all the way through here. And it has this little boop right there because the city of Jerusalem has been sliced in half. So it's partly in Israel, partly in Palestine. The West Bank, quite an interesting geographic area. This whole part of Israel and Palestine is very hilly, also very beautiful. I'm going to get my tablet out after this to try to show you the region. It's not on Google Earth. I mean, it is, but it's very blurry on purpose, so I can give you an idea, but we can't look at any details on Google Earth. I'll just have to show you pictures, but very hilly and a little bit mountainous. Meanwhile, all over here, it is very dry desert. Very dry desert. It's pretty barren. And it has the Dead Sea bordering it. I believe it's the saltiest lake in the world, if I'm not mistaken. It is definitely the lowest point in the world. And also the Jordan River comes through here. So it has a border with Jordan as well. And honestly, let me discuss real quick before we get into the just straight facts of history, the religious significance of Jerusalem, because it's a very remarkable city, and we'll take a look at it on my tablet as well. There are sites here that are extremely holy to the three major religions of the world. The Temple of Solomon was built here, destroyed, rebuilt, and destroyed again. There is only one wall remaining, the Western Wall. It is the most holy site in the Jewish religion. Right next to it, the area that is there is called the Temple Mount. So there's one wall left of the original Temple Mount. On top of the Temple Mount today stands the Dome on the Rock and the Al-Aqba Mosque, which is a very close second for the most holy sites for Muslims. The number one, of course, being Mecca, Saudi Arabia. So this is a very close second. The Dome on the Rock is where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven. So there's a shrine around the rock to protect it, and we'll see it on Google Earth. And then the Al-Aqba Mosque is the adjoining mosque to that sacred space. Also in Jerusalem is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is where the tomb of Jesus is located. It is, of course, empty because he, according to the belief, rose back from the dead. But also in that area, the street where he carried the cross for his execution is marked as a historical site. The cave where he is believed to have emerged after his resurrection is nearby. We'll check it out on Google Earth. It's very interesting. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is divided, I want to say, into Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and I want to say Armenian churches. It's divided up so that as many people in the Christian belief can come and worship in their own special ways. So it's a very important place to the world. I feel like there's certain spots in the world where our very, very ancient ancestors came and said, there's something powerful about this place. It is holy, it is magical, it's so special. And just looking at the landscape of this corner of the world, I feel like that's exactly what happened. So, let's go into history. The actual factual history, not just religion or opinions or what have you. This is straight facts. If you are upset by this, I apologize in advance if your feelings are hurt, I suppose. But I am just presenting the straight facts of what actually happened in this region. Nothing more. If that upsets you, I'm sorry. It upsets me too. It's a very sad history. But I ask that you not let out your rage in the comments. This is a place of relaxation and peace. So, understandably, if you are upset, just, write it on a piece of paper and crumple it up and throw it away just to get it out of your system, I suppose. Please don't bring that energy to my comments. If you want to critique my video style, if you want to complain about the neighbor whose wall I share, who set up a huge fridge against the wall and it keeps humming. It stopped now, but feel free to complain about that. Believe me, I'm not happy about that too, but those are legitimate complaints you can complain about in the comments. Please don't complain about what happened, because I didn't make the history. I'm just presenting the facts in the most relaxing way possible. There will be very sad events I will talk about. I will not go into detail about them because that is not relaxing in my opinion. But I will try to be very respectful to those who have lost so much in this area. So, that being said, humans have been here for forever, basically. As far back as we know. The earliest civilization would have been the Canaanites, who had various city-states in the region. But eventually, two big kingdoms sprung up in this area. In the north, we would have had Israel, and the south would have been Judah. And over here in Gaza was the Philistines, which is where we believe we got the word Palestine, Palestinians, but it's not for sure. Philistines. I don't know why. Anyway, I've got Palestine. Anyway, on the mind. The first people to come in and conquer the area would have been the Assyrians. They came in during the 8th century BCE. The Assyrians were eventually conquered by the Babylonians. And in the year 601 BCE, they came into this area, ransacked Jerusalem, destroyed the Temple of Solomon. Eventually, the Persians would have conquered the Babylonians. And Cyrus the Great, who was the leader of the Persians and who conquered the Babylonians, was very famous for his religious tolerance. And he even freed all of the Jewish slaves that the Babylonians had captured and let them go home. But the Persian Empire was eventually conquered by Alexander the Great, which led this area into a more Greek sphere of influence, or the Greek culture, I suppose. And that came under the Roman sphere of influence, so eventually this area became a part of Rome. They annexed it in the year 63 BCE, much to the chagrin of the people living here. The Romans were very cruel. There were revolts. They were put down very cruelly. they destroyed the second temple that was rebuilt, and many stories of sacrifice and what have you coming out of this era. But the Romans did come in and assert their dominance. And once the Roman Empire became Christian, this area became heavily Christian in the 4th century CE. Eventually, though, we reach the 600s. The Muslims start to conquer, and they enter this area, take it over. The first dynasty to be in charge of this area were the Umayyads, and they're the ones who built the Dome on the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And there were many other sultanates and kingdoms, same difference, that occupied this region, that would take over the other, take over the other, take over the other. So we're not really going to get into it. But I believe it was the Abbasids who declared that they should destroy all the Christian and Jewish monuments, temples, churches, what have you, which very much angered the Pope over in Rome. So he declared the Crusades in 1099, and many knights and various wealthy Christians came in to retake the Holy Land, which they did for a minute. Muslims came in and retook it. It was a big back and forth. Eventually the Muslims would win out. When the Ayyubids were in charge of the area, they were conquered by the Mongols. And before the Mongols could come in and start destroying everything, the Egyptian Mamluk dynasty came in and took over the area. Because, the Mongols, they love to destroy everything in their path. And it's very important to not let them destroy everything. There's been too much destruction already. Who knew that there's going to be so much more, right? Eventually, the Ottomans would conquer the Mamluks came in 1260. In 1516, the Ottomans would come in because they had conquered the Mamluks, and this area was under Ottoman control for a very long time. There was only one little hiccup when Egypt invaded in 1832, but the British intervened and they gave it back to the Ottomans. And it's around this time, the 1800s, mid to late 1800s, that the Zionist movement came to be, which was a belief that all the Jews, especially ones being persecuted in Europe and Russia, should come back to the Holy Land and revive the old ways and speak Hebrew and all of that. So Jewish people started to move back into this area to try to revive their very ancient culture. In 1917, the British thought, you know what, let's create a Jewish state here. Let's do it. So they beat the Ottomans in World War I. This area became a British mandate, and they attempted to set up a Jewish state, which upset the Arabs who were already living here, the Palestinians. Violence broke out, and eventually the British would just give up in 1947, passed it on to the United Nations at this point. So the United Nations was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create, part of it will be for the Jews, part of it will be for the Muslims. And the Jewish population was like, cool. And the Muslim population was like, no, like, we already live here. We don't want this to happen. This is our home. Like, you're just coming in and taking over our home. And, this was just after World War II. This was just after the Holocaust. There was a lot of trauma in the Jewish community, and many people were fleeing Europe and the Soviet Union to come here to just basically celebrate their religion and heritage, right? But at the expense of the Palestinians who were already living here. So in 1948, the day the British fully pulled out of the area, Israel declared itself independent and its own country, its own thing, which immediately sparked the Arab-Israeli War, in which Transjordan, as it was known at the time, and Egypt invaded. So it was called Transjordan because it was on the side of the Jordan, along the Jordan, but they invaded and took the West Bank. So they changed their name to Jordan, since they were no longer just on the side of the Jordan, they were on both sides. And it's still called Jordan today. And Egypt took the Gaza Strip. And, it was not good for anyone. It was the beginning of an era that the Palestinians refer to as Nakba, which is the idea of the Israelis persecuting the Palestinians to the point of almost ethnic cleansing, genocide, all of those horrible things, taking their homes, treating them as lesser than, and just horrific things that I don't like to talk about on a relaxation channel, and that is still ongoing. That is still happening, probably as I speak, to be honest, but I'll come back to that. In 1964, the PLO was formed, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which was a way to try to fix everything for the Palestinians. Didn't quite work out with Israel. It sparked many different terrorist groups to form to fight back against Israeli power. And Israel retaliated by launching the Six-Day War. In 1967, Israel took back the West Bank. They took back the Gaza Strip. And among others, they very famously took the Sinai Peninsula, this whole chunk of Egypt, right? They retaliated in a major way. The PLO relocated to Lebanon, which is just up here, I should say. And I don't want to damage my book. Which caused Israel to launch attacks against Lebanon and the refugees who were living there. Very horrible. Even more horrific acts of terrorism came out of Palestinian terrorist organizations, most famously at the Olympics in Munich, Germany, which is depressing. I'm not going to talk about that. But, it wasn't just chaos. There were organizations and countries and things like that trying to fix the problem. And most famously in 1979 at the Camp David Accords, Egypt and Jordan gave up their claims on the areas here. And, there were steps made for a political peace, not so much a ceasefire, but try to figure out what to do about the situation. And on November 15th, 1988, Palestine declared its independence, making it not just the PLO, but Palestine, the state of Palestine, to try to make itself a bit more legitimized, I suppose. That was recognized by the UN in 1988, like I said, 1988, yeah, as just a non-member state, but recognized nonetheless, and many other countries around the world recognized, especially the Arab or Muslim-dominated ones. But, the hard times continued. Very famously, some other groups came up. Most notably was Hamas. In 2007, they retook the Gaza Strip. Israel started bombing, which is still ongoing today. It's still a war zone here, and it's very depressing. Hamas will fire rockets back. It's nonstop, and just last year in 2021, the Israel soldiers were fighting Muslims at the Al-Aqsa Mosque during Ramadan, which is just crazy. But they were retaliating for an attack, and they were retaliating for attack, and they were retaliating for attack, and it just goes back and forth, never ending. It's really horrible. But in 2012, Lebanon officially became a non-member observer state of the UN. In 2015, the UN raised the Palestinian flag. And, I feel like slowly but surely, Palestine is gaining more recognition around the world, which I think is, in my opinion time, is the right way to go to legitimize a country, right? To try to figure things out in a way. But Israel has the backing of one of the 5 great superpowers, the United States, who are just throwing money at Israel nonstop. and it really exacerbates things and doesn't really get the ball moving in the UN because they have veto power. The United States, I mean, not Israel, but anyway. The main issues today, other than everything that goes on, my goodness, so much happens all the time. There was just some really horrible news recently when a Palestinian journalist was murdered, and a very sad event. We're not going to get into it today, but it breaks my heart. Water is one of the big issues in this area. Like I said, this is dry desert, and it's only getting drier. The Jordan River is slowly drying up due to the sudden boom in population in Israel, who are taking all the water. Because more people, you need more water. It creates desertification, water shortages, what have you. Not just in Palestine and Israel, but in Jordan, Syria. It affects everything. Not to mention the Israelis they've been doing this for quite a few decades, but they'll go in and build huge settlements in the Palestinian territory here in the West Bank. And they tend to do this by, very sadly, commandeering Palestinian homes and kicking them out, and then demolishing their homes, whether or not they moved out or not. And horrifying. But I'm going to show you some of those on Google Earth, because you can kind of see them if you squint, because the whole area here is blurred out on Google Earth. Israel really does not want you looking at it from above. So that is pretty much where we are today. Whew. Take a breather. This is such a tragic situation, and there really is no end in sight. And that breaks my heart, because you know how much, I'm like tearing up thinking about it. You know how much I love peace and equality and everything. So I'm like actually starting to cry thinking about it. So it really breaks my heart. Just a quick personal, I suppose. I don't believe either side is right. I don't believe either side is wrong. I believe people are people, and I just think that, you know, I think it's sad that we let religion get in the way for so many things. Not just this, but so many other things around the world. Whew, okay. I'm not going to get into any more detail. It's too complicated of an issue, and like I said, I have nothing to do with this. I have no stakes in this whatsoever. I just think that all people should be able to live freely, no matter what religion they are. And I believe that all people have the right to live where they feel safe. So it's very complicated. Anyway, I'm going to wipe the tears off my face and get my tablet out so I can show you what Palestine looks like from above. And we're not going to focus on the sad, especially since everything's blurred and you can't see the sad from above. So thankfully there's that. So I will take you on a tour of the Gaza Strip and Jerusalem, because that's pretty much all you can see. And I'm going to stop rambling and let's get to it. Okay. So first of all, let me show you where we are exactly in the world, if you are not sure where we are. We are in the Middle East here. You can see Europe, Africa, Central Asia, Middle East over here. That is where we are located tonight. So, sorry, I'm still a wreck. Here we can see the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Let's see if there's any pictures here. I already looked through a bunch. There's some neat little things here. Those aren't the best pictures. Let me show you where I found some cool pictures. Let's first start in the Gaza Strip. And let me show you what I mean about everything being horribly blurry, right? So, over here is a very beautiful mosque and a lovely little downtown area, which, you know, these are kind of the clearest pictures. And of course, we don't have 3D view of anywhere. Everything is flat in Israel and the Palestinian state. So let me show you what this mosque looks like. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's so, so pretty. And it's right on the water. And it has a lovely little garden, I guess, Medina. Absolutely beautiful interior. And then you get pictures like this, which I agree, kids. Peace above all things. Look how beautiful it is. That is so stunning. And yeah, so as you can see, this area is a big hustle bustle, very packed. And yeah, it's very sad that this is the place that gets the most airstrikes from Israel, where you see littles like the one you just saw there live. And very sadly, that's what happens. Lots of different big communities you can see here, even some farmland further south. Over here you can see the border with Egypt right here. Big striking difference. And let me see. I found a place that made me smile when I was just cruising through here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it though. It was down here somewhere. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find it again, which makes me really sad because I wanted to show it to you. It made me smile. Is this it? No. Although that is cool. What is this? Whoa. The park. Looks like a little airfield there. Oh, what a sweet. Yep, there's the airstrip, and there's these guys taking some glamour shots by the trees. It's always important to remember that people are people, right? People are people are people. This is someone's everyday, right? Whoa, cool. Little park there. But yeah, I'm gonna cruise by. I think this was it. Yes, I found a little theme park. Before the pandemic, I worked at a indoor play place and I organized kids' birthday parties. So Google still thinks I'm very interested in kids' play places, so it always shows me all the kids' play places. So I was like, you know what? Let's see what this is, right? Check it out. We've got rides. I hate those kind of rides, so they make me sick. We've got a wave pool. We've got roller coasters, bumper cars. Oh, a cool little play place in the pool. You can see the water. And and a dinosaur. And check it out. Oh, he's not amused though. He's like, please, can we leave? Please just take the photo, please. Wave pool. I love wave pools. Who doesn't love a good wave pool? Oh, it's so much fun. And roller coaster, and there's dinosaurs. There's dinosaurs here. It's just, you know, it's awesome. There's a little dinosaur park with little roller coasters. And, you know, I feel like when you think of the Gaza Strip, you think of just like war-torn, damaged, bombed-out buildings and terrorists with, like big bazookas and launching rockets. And it's important to remember that there was the population. I want to say it was around 1 million people live here, living everyday lives. And that's just really important to remember. Look at the difference between the border here. It looks like Israel has this area all farmed out. I noticed that it looks like they're building houses right on the border. That's risky. Almost kind of looks like a golf course they're building here. But yeah, that's it's really interesting looking at the Israeli settlements they're building in these areas, because they look exactly like the suburbs of where I live. Dead on. Like, it's the exact same layout of homes. Oh, I've gone too far. Here's the Dead Sea. So here you can see the mountainous dry desert, right? So, since we can't really see anything anywhere else, I've tried all these little places. There are no pictures. We're going to take a look at Jerusalem, which is so cool. Like I told you, I'm not a Christian, Muslim, or Jew, so I don't really know a lot about this area, to be honest. Also, look, it's the exact suburban layout of the suburbs of where I live. It's almost eerie. I'm trying to find, there we go. Without looking. So, I really didn't know a lot about the details, especially about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I am not there. Here it is. Okay. I was like, I'm staring at the dome. So, yeah, this is like the #1 most holy place for all Christians. This is the empty tomb of Jesus, and it's getting dusted right there in that picture. Gorgeous building. Remarkable, to be honest. Oh, it's so beautiful. Wow. And oh, look at this. So they're taking him down, treating his body, and putting him in the cave. I know that much, at least. I know some of the stories. I just don't know a lot of the details. And then I was just like cruising around here this afternoon, checking out the sights, and I was like, what's this garden? I realized it's the cave. Like, this is where Jesus would have emerged, resurrected. Like, what? And then look at this. Thank you for keeping clean and litter free. Who is literally littering at this place, at this insanely holy place? Who is leaving their trash here? Come on now. Really, you need a sign because someone's done it enough times for them to make a sign saying, please don't litter. Who in their right mind is littering at such a holy place? Come on now, people. I'm disappointed in them. Let's head over to the Temple Mount, which is one of the more blurrier parts of Google Earth here. Don't worry, don't adjust your TV screen. It is very blurry. You cannot see anything. And yes, this is like the world's flattest dome on Google Earth. So over here we have the Western Wall. You can see all these little fuzzy dots here are people who are praying at the wall. Let's check it out. So this is the #1 most holy site in Judaism, right here on this wall. And yeah, very, very ancient spot. Of course, kept like pristine, and people with their prayer shawls on. I believe they write prayers on paper and slip it into the cracks of the wall. And I don't know, I couldn't find it anywhere, but I wonder if this divider, because I see it in all the pictures, I wonder if that's to keep separate, like, the people who are worshiping and praying versus people who are just there to look, or for an event or something, you know, just so people aren't being disturbed while they're at this incredibly sacred site. I don't know. Meanwhile, up here's the Dome of the Rock, which is absolutely gorgeous. Imagine this being built in the 900s. And of course, it's one of those beautiful mosques that have those beautiful mosaic tiles that I'm like obsessed with. Absolutely gorgeous building. Look at this. And look, this is the rock. This is the rock that the dome is built to protect. Amazing. I think religious sites are cool. And seeing like the most holy of the religious sites is even more cooler. Very, very neat. Ooh, snowy day. And then next door is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Another very ancient, old mosque. There's the dome. It's the mosque. It's gorgeous inside, of course, like all very important mosques are. There's something about really special holy buildings like cathedrals and these very sacred mosques and things like that. They're so gorgeous inside. You could really tell that people spent very detailed, intricate time making sure that everything was just so. Everything is just right. So that is the Temple Mount, which is fascinating. And then, like I said, that part is in the Palestinian territory. Let me see, there's the line here. It's really hard to see. But this side is officially Israel. And here you can see the difference. More modern buildings. And then right here's the old town. Which, I guess people still live here. Just living out their regular lives in one of the most remarkable spots in the world. This over here is the Mound of Olives, which, as a person that does not follow these religions, I'm not quite sure what that means, so feel free to educate me. Over here is like so many Jewish graves. I don't know what that's about either, but so many. And there's the Holocaust Memorial up there as well. So, check this out, if I can find it. Also, we can kind of see, on 3D, we can see some of the terrain. Just how hilly this region is. You can kind of see it's still kind of flat, but, yeah, as we enter Palestinian territory over here, you can see how, these housing developments are being built on top of these hills, which, like I said, exactly like where I live. Everyone knows Silicon Valley. That's the South Bay to us that live here. So just north of the South Bay is some hilly areas that look just like this, and the housing developments, I'm telling you, identical to these. So they're building in a very, very Western way in these settlements, which is such a contrast to the very traditional Palestinian villages, which are getting harder and harder to find. You can see there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else doesn't really have a lot of pictures. There are so many other fascinating points of interest in terms of religion over here, but you know, this would be a 2-hour video showing you all the cool sights here. It makes me really want to go, but also like very hesitant to go as well. But I just think it's neat. Okay, like I found the tomb of Mary. Like what? The Church of Mary Magdalene over there. So many famous tombs of people whose names I know, but I don't know what they did. Oh, this was cool. The City of David, the OG town that they've been uncovering. Like, it's a whole archaeological dig site that they're excavating. That's neat, I think. Because it's history, you know, it's not just, well, in my religion, this is a sacred place because I said so. That's actual evidence of incredible history, right? That's what I'm into. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for tonight. Let's see if we can't see anything on the Dead Sea to take us out. Probably not on this end. It's probably more exciting over on the Jordanian end. But this is salty, salty, salty water. Oop. Salty water. Look at all the salt you can see from high up. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you found this video relaxing and educational. More so, I hope you found it relaxing, because it is one of the most depressing topics in world history. But yeah, thank you again. Have a very good night. And wherever you are, just be safe. And if you are safe, if you are tucked in bed, safe and sound, snug as a bug, just take a moment to think about someone who's not in any part of the world and just send them loving, kind energy and peace and hope. Just please do that before you go to sleep tonight. Just consider that there are people who are going to bed not snug as a bug in their bed, and just hope that one day they will not have that and everything will be better. Just, yeah. Have a very good night. Good night.